1. A Black Sarcophagus. A big aged 2,000-year-old sealed black granite was found in Alexandria, Egypt in July 2018. The sarcophagus was found and it prompted a lot of speculation and rumors. Several people said that opening the sarcophagus will unleash a world-ending curse. However, when it was opened, the sarcophagus was found to contain the remains of 3 Egyptian army officers and reddish-brown sewage liquid. How the sarcophagus had been kept for so long and left unopened is something that is yet to be understood. Another baffling thing is that the reddish-brown sewage was in a 2,000-year-old tomb. 2. The Knifearmed Man. When archaeologists were excavating a 1,400-year-old necropolis in North Italy, they found the remains of a man that had a knife-blade prosthetic arm. The man's remains were examined and the analysis revealed that the arm had been removed through blunt force trauma below the elbow and that the arm was replaced with a knife blade prosthesis and he kept living with it. 3. Oldest cheese existing. While the world was still mourning over the sarcophagus juice, archaeologists found another amazing thing in Saqqara. They found an inedible old solid cheese which when analyzed showed that it was 3,300 years old. When further analyzed, it showed that the cheese was a mixture of cow and either goat or sheep milk that was made into cheese. The cheese must have been left in the tomb of the office that was a servant to the Pharaoh. 4. A tiny hand. At the Roman fort of Vindolanda near Hadrian's Wall in England, archaeologists found a small tiny hand that was creepy, live, and miniature. The hand was said to be associated with the worship and service of Jupiter Dolitianus, a mystery cult whose practices were hidden in secrecy. The hand is said to have been left there as an offering after a major invasion of Scotland when a huge number of people were killed. 5. An unlucky man. In 79 AD, a devastating volcanic eruption of Vesuvius occurred in Pompeii, an ancient Roman city, causing the city to get buried under ash and pumice. The eruption destroyed the entire city and killed its inhabitants. This event was very tragic, but has left the world with a huge archaeological site and Roman treasures. The city was buried under ash, meaning that there was no air and moisture, so buildings, objects, and cadavers have stayed well preserved for several thousands of years. During an excavation at the site, a man's remains were found, and it's said to have been crushed down into the ground to a point of death by a very massive falling stone. The man's lower limbs crushed into the ground. 6. The Shroud of Turin. Perhaps there presently doesn't exist any archaeological discovery that is more debated than the Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin is a long piece of twill that has traces of blood and a dark imprint on a man's body. The Catholic Church recorded the existence of the shroud in AD 1353, around the time the shroud showed up in a church in Liéry, France. However, the legend of the Shroud of Turin dates far back to AD 30 or 33. Researchers had tried severally to lay their hands upon the Shroud of Turin, but to no avail until the 1980s. The researchers were very determined to check the true age of the shroud, and they did so through radiocarbon dating. The Shroud of Turin has been said to be the alleged burial cloth of Jesus. However, after researchers analyzed the cloth, they determined that the clothing was not as old as the time that Jesus lived. Several critics, however, still insist that the shroud is Jesus' burial. 7. Underground Labyrinth. Archaeologists working at Chevan de Huanta in Peru discovered a network of 35 interlocking underground tunnels while they were using tiny remote-operated robots. The tunnels were explored, and it was found to contain the remains of 3 individuals that are believed to have been sacrificed in rituals involving drugs, noise, and light manipulation. 8. A pit of many heads. Archaeologists that worked along the Great Wall of China published new findings and showed a newly discovered stratified society, the Shimo polity. The researchers explored the place and found thousands of jade items and even discovered that human sacrifice was an important feature of the society. The pits were dug, and at least 6 pits was containing several decapitated heads of young women. 9. 2,400-year-old baskets of fruit. Archaeologists found a trove of ancient artifacts from the 4th century BCE and the artifacts contained wicker baskets that had several things like fruit from an African palm tree, grape seeds, Greek ceramics, and doom. It was a team of researchers from the European Institute for Underwater Archaeology that found the basket of fruits. The group head, Frank Glaudio, discovered that the fruit had been untouched for over 2,400 years. 10. Graves of mother and child. Archaeologists discovered 2 ancient graves containing a mother and baby near Stonehenge in England. In February 2021, archaeologists in England found 2 ancient graves near the prehistoric Stonehenge in Salisbury. The find was made during an excavation that was needed before the creation of a new highway tunnel. The 2 graves that were found were declared to be about 4,500 years old. They found the graves to be as old as the other stones in the central circle of the henge, and it was seen to belong to a mother and a baby. The mother and child are believed to be related to those that built the circle. Matt Levers, an archaeologist with Wessex Archaeology who helped during the survey of the area, told Insider, "The later arrangements of bluestones would have been built around the time these people lived and died. If they weren't the builders, then they might have been their relatives, or perhaps their children or grandchildren." Stonehenge had been a mystery for centuries until February 2021, when the researchers found out that the stones had been transported from Wales to Salisbury, suggesting that the henge was some sort of a burial ground. 11. Lost Golden City is suddenly found in Egypt. In April 2021, Jacob Sarkisian reported that a lost city, specifically a lost golden city, was found in Egypt, 300 miles south of Cairo. It is one of the largest and widest cities ever discovered in the country. The team found the city after 7 months of excavating. When they finally found the city, the team said, "The Egyptian mission under Dr. Zahi Hawass found the city that was lost under the sands." The city is 3,000 years old, dates to the reign of Amenhotep I, and continued to be used by Tutankhamun and A. The city features several neighborhoods, intact 10-feet-high walls, and even a bakery. 12. The earlier men loved tobacco. On October 11, 2022, archaeologists unearthed an ancient hearth that contained 4 charred tobacco seeds in northern Utah. Earlier that October, Joshua reported that the earliest evidence of tobacco use was found in Utah. The seeds were dated to be around over 12,000 years old. This evidence uncovered the fact that humans have been using tobacco for a longer period, 9,000 years earlier than what has been previously thought. 13. Evidence of Roman crucifixion. In December 2021, researchers in Cambridgeshire were analyzing findings from their dig of a Roman settlement, and they found a nail that was passed through the foot of a skeleton. This bone represented proof of Roman crucifixion. Rebecca Cohen and Erin Shoemaker reported the find. While it's widely thought and believed that crucifixion was relatively common during the Roman era, only a few pieces of evidence are existing to prove it. This particular finishing is the 4th known crucifixion in the world, but it ranks as the best preserved one. 14. Roman slave quarters in Pompeii got frozen. In November 2021, archaeologists found an incredibly well-preserved 2,000-year-old slave in Pompeii. The room was frozen due to a Mount Vesuvius massive volcanic eruption that happened. The room contained beds, a chest, and a chamber pot. The room was well preserved. 15. A healthy mummified Egyptian pharaoh. In late 2021, an unwrapped mummy was discovered, and 3D CT scanners were used to unwrap the mummified Egyptian pharaoh. After the unwrapping, it was discovered that the person in question was Amenhotep I Sahar Salim, who was a professor of radiology and lead author of a study on the mummy. Said that the images from the scan showed clear, unprecedented detail of the body of Amenhotep I. Amenhotep was the 2nd pharaoh of Egypt's 18th dynasty, and he ruled for over 2 decades in 1525 BC. The scans aged the pharaoh to be around 35 years old, and that he was 5 feet, 6 inches tall, circumcised, had a narrow chin, a small narrow nose, curly hair, mildly protruding upper teeth, and a pierced left ear. What several scans didn't show, however, was the cause of the 35-year-old pharaoh's death. There are no clues about how he died. Which of the findings did you find to be the most strange and unexplainable? Is it the Shroud of Turin? Or the slave quarters that were well preserved? Archaeology always seems to amuse us more and push us into deep curiosity. This curiosity will push more researchers to the field to find out more.